I'm Shep Hyken, and here's what's coming up on this edition of Be Amazing or Go Home. The power of video. If you're not using video to create a better customer experience, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. We'll break down the ways you can get rolling. Connecting with customers. Matt Gillen of Relay Network has built an amazing way to engage with customers, and it's all about personalizing the experience. You'll want to stick around to learn these lessons. The first 100 days, Joey Coleman joins me in the studio to talk about how to turn your new customers into lifelong fans. You don't want to miss it. And showing up on time. It seems simple, but the amazing quote shares a few lessons on how being on time leads to amazing results. So, are you ready to be amazing? Stay tuned for all of this and more coming up next on Be Amazing or Go Home. Hello, I'm Shep Hyken, and this is Be Amazing or Go Home, the show that's dedicated to take you from average to amazing. So let's begin with this. If you're not using video to create a better experience for your customers, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. And even if you are using video, you're probably not using it enough. Video has become one of the most cost-effective ways to promote, train, and support customers. It's a way of leveraging relationships to create an emotional connection with your customers if used the right way. It can both save you money and make you money. And with that in mind, let's take a look at 5 ways you can use video to create an amazing customer experience. Number 1, sales and marketing. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, how many words is a video worth? For a company that does any type of digital advertising or marketing, embedding video is simple and very cost-effective. Plus, it's a great way to showcase new products and services. Number 2, onboarding. Video tutorials that come after the product is purchased ensures that customers know how to properly use what they just bought. Just think of any product that you've ever bought that needs assembly or requires instructions for use. That includes software. The ways to use video onboarding are endless. Number 3, customer support. Having video tutorials for frequently asked questions is a perfect way to give customers the support they need while freeing up contact center agents to deal with more complicated customer service issues. This is akin to having a video version of the traditional frequently asked questions page on a website. Number 4, ongoing training. You don't have to wait for customers to reach out with questions before putting a video in front of them. Ongoing video tutorials are perfect for certain types of products and services. And again, video is no longer an expensive or time-consuming commodity. Anyone with a smartphone can become a videographer. And number 5, staying in touch. Almost any written correspondence found in a letter, an email, or a text message can be turned into a personal video. Take a thank you video as an example. Thank the customer for his or her order through a simple video and let them know how to reach you if they have any questions. This shouldn't be a generic video, but a custom, personalized video. The time it takes to do this is less than it would to write a handwritten note and then address an envelope, put a stamp on it, and mail it out. Now, these ideas are just the beginning. As you start to use video, you'll recognize even more opportunities that it gives you to connect and build relationships with your customers. Connecting with your customers via video will create a better experience for all and can only lead to amazing results for you and your business. I'm excited about what's next because it's all about connecting with customers. And fewer customers are reading emails, answering phone calls, downloading apps, and opting to use traditional channels because they simply fall short in the digital age. So how you engage with your customers matters, and Relay Network is providing businesses with the easiest and most effective way to engage their customers. And one of the secrets to being amazing for your customers is personalizing the experience. And here to join us to talk about exactly that is the CEO of Relay Network, Matt Gillen. Matt, welcome to the show.
Shep, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, excited. So tell us a little bit about Relay Network, and then we'll jump into a few questions that I have.
Sure. Relay Network is a company, I would say the biggest company that no one's ever heard of. We have 32 million customers with all types of businesses around the country that we've really worked with to solve the customer communication problem.
Wow. So 32 million customers. I just want to point out that that's like about 10% of the United States population. And you're telling me, yeah, you are a company, because up until we were preparing for this interview, I had no idea who Relay Network was.
Yeah, and then when I say we're unheard of, we invented something completely new. It's called the customer feed. And all of us are familiar with feeds in our life. Twitter is a social feed, Facebook is a social feed, news feeds, and a customer feed, no one's ever done it before. It's a private one-to-one connection with every customer.
So how does that work?
Well, the first thing is, if you think about how businesses have been communicating with their customers, they build a website, built for everyone, they hope that you come, and they force you to do all the navigation. The feed is that businesses can feed you information when you need it about the service experiences that typically cause the most trouble and therefore have the biggest impact on poor customer experiences. So we changed the whole thing.
Yeah, so you're saying it's personalized and it's one-to-one. I mean, how does that work? Do I have an account? Do I log on? I mean, what happens?
Sure. So with the product comes the feed. Reimagine everything. So if you sign up for a bank account, it comes with a feed. You sign up for insurance, it comes with a feed. You sign up for your cable company, it comes with a feed. The moment you sign up, you receive a text message on your phone, it pops up, and it secures a private, compliant one-to-one feed with that customer that they can use now to communicate with you one-to-one. Think of it like the Bat phone, where Commissioner Gordon would pick up the phone and he knows that Batman's always on the other side. Every business now has a way to get with just you and give you the information you need, short, concise, actionable communications that makes it easier to get stuff done, and they always know who you are.
All right, I love the bat phone analogy. That's like pop culture. All right, let's talk about, and I realize why communication is more important than ever. As I said in the introduction, fewer and fewer people are connecting via the traditional channels. I mean, whether it be phone, email, messaging. So what do you feel are the changing expectations of the customer? Because this is what's driving really the communication change.
Sure. Well, you know all about this with some of the books you wrote, but if you think about the best companies, they've trained us now for 10 years. Amazon, Netflix, Uber, they've trained us to demand immediacy and know who I am, know where I am. You take all the logistical aspects and they go away, and I think it and I get it done. We want to apply those same concepts to enterprise businesses and their customers, so that I think the moment I think I want to do something, all I have to do is press a button. That's what the expectation is. And how do service companies, how do banks do that? Insurance companies do it. They have legacy systems. How do they deliver on that promise? That's where Relay comes in.
Right. So I think it's important for everybody watching the show here to understand that the changing expectations are not based on just the company you're doing business with, interacting with. The expectation is based on not even competition, but simply the best service that customer's ever received. And now that sets a new, for lack of a better term, a new bar, and every business has to recognize the bar is raised due to the rock star companies that you just mentioned.
Yeah, it's raised to the best experience. Now I expect everyone else to follow suit.
So businesses, as I mentioned, they're experiencing trouble connecting with their customers. Your customer feed is a great way to do it. What is the secret behind making this work?
There's three fundamental things. So if you're an enterprise today, if you're a bank or insurance company or healthcare company, you're all saying, I want to deliver better service. They don't wake up every day and saying, how am I going to torture that customer? But the problem is, if the channels they're using don't work. They try to call you, you don't pick up the phone. They send you emails, no one can see an email with all the clutter. They drive you to your website, you don't remember your username and password. The old communication channels have been proven not to work. So how do you drive engagement? How can you educate your customers when you literally they can't even see your message? So the feed allows you to deliver it to them. Instead of coming and get it, we deliver it to you.
So you say, I get that. How do you get the customer to adopt this? I think back to a time when you had to actually call a reservationist to make an airline reservation. You couldn't use the internet. And I remember how the airlines would give us an incentive by giving us extra miles or a discount. How do you get the customer to start using some type of new technology, whether it be you or any other type of technology for that?
So we broke the model. Most businesses prior to Relay, they would say sign up for a service, and then they'd send you an email and they'd say sign up for the communication capability or go to the website and enroll. We broke that. When you sign up for the product, we push you the feed. So we literally push you the feed to your phone. And we use a model that's been proven in the last 5 or 6 years, which is like the social invitation model. Do you remember when Facebook first came out and you would just you would invite a friend and all they had to do was press a button?
Yep.
That's what we do for businesses and their customers. So when they sign up for your product, they just press a button and the communication feed comes with the product. So you see massive adoption on this new type of tool.
And the key is it's highly personalized. It's about them. You mentioned one-to-one, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, it's not only is it different in driving adoption, but the feed itself, you scroll down and they deliver out to you in the exact moment. Very often, before you even know you have a problem, they can now start to educate you and guide you through. Most people used to talk about self-service. Self-service doesn't work. We as consumers don't want to do all the work. We talked about it with the changing expectations. What they want is to guide me through, educate me, make it easier, pull out the friction. The feed allows for that to happen. I don't have to go to a website. I don't have to navigate. I don't have to figure it all out. You feed me exactly what I need. You never ask me who I am, and I can just get things done.
Right. It's easy, and I think you use the word frictionless, which is all about convenience, and which was the title of my latest book, The Convenience Revolution. All right. We are just about out of time. Any last thoughts before we end?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is if you're an enterprise out there and you have the challenge that we talked about, you have to be able to implement something quickly. They've made all of these investments in apps and websites, but the feed can sit on top of that and drive your customer to where they need to go to get stuff done. So it's easy to put in place, and it's going to deliver 10x results from what you're accustomed to today with the old model.
Okay, 10x, not twice as much, not 50%, 10x. That's huge. And 10x. I think the secret behind that is, and I use that word secret in the introduction, it's really a highly personalized level of communication, easy to interact with. There's no hassle, no fuss. It almost feels very natural, as natural as the traditional phone call.
Absolutely. It's the only channel built for the individual, more than personalized, actually, to the individual.
Excellent. All right, Matt, thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate you. This, by the way, it's be amazing or go home. And I just want to say one thing. You've built an amazing business, so continue to be amazing.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Time now for the Amazing app, brought to you by First Rule. And this app creates the ultimate convenience for those of you who hate receipts and expense reports. Expensify automates the entire receipt and expense management process, freeing up your team to focus on more important things. Snap a picture of your receipt and your expense report is done. Expensify's smart scan technology automatically reads and codes the receipt details for you and can be automatically submitted, approved, and even reimbursed. And Expensify also has the Expensify card, making everything from swipe to settlement a breeze. The Expensify card only lets employees spend money in the account, so no supersized bills at the end of the month. It's completed in just one swipe, but will also provide real-time alerts if you need to scan the receipt or add expense details. And the world's smartest corporate card is an extension of the Expensify app, so transactions sync immediately and reliably. From receipt scanning to reimbursement, Expensify automates every step of the expense reporting process. No more pockets full of receipts and no more being buried in paperwork. Expensify does all the work for you, as expense reports with Expensify take an average of 83% less time, so you can focus on what's really important to you. Creating convenience by removing friction for its customers is what makes Expensify an amazing app. How would you like to turn your new customers into lifelong fans? Well, through his book and his speaking engagements, Joey Coleman has a proven method that can make this happen within the first 100 days of the sale. And it applies to all individuals of an organization, from the receptionist to the CEO. And here to talk about that crucial first 100 days after getting the new customer is the master himself, Mr. Joey Coleman. Welcome to the show.
Oh, Shep, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks so much.
And I'm thrilled that you're here because you and I last year spent some time in Australia together. We were working with the same client. We spent a week. We watched each other speak several times. And I got to actually over and over and over again hear about the first 100 days, how crucial it is. And by the way, this is the book, Never Lose a Customer Again, subtitled Turn Any Sale into Lifelong Loyalty in the First 100 Days. An outstanding book. I think I was one of the first to buy the book.
You were. I appreciate it.
And I love it because anytime I could think, well, how can I mean, what it said, it's so important. It's just, to keep that customer. You get the customer, you work so hard to do it, and then you've got to keep it. Let's talk about, first of all, speaking engagements. You travel around the world. This is what you talk about.
I do, yes.
Yep.
So I do keynotes, I do workshops. So many companies spend a lot of time focused on customer acquisition, marketing, and sales. How do we fill the funnel? How do we get new people? But the problem is, once they get them in the door, they get them signed, they sell them that first product or that first service, most companies quit paying attention.
Yeah.
They start to neglect the customer, and the customer feels neglected. And as a result, they don't stay. Right. And what the research finds is that somewhere between 20 and 70% of new customers will leave before the 100-day anniversary.
Wow.
And Shep, I found that staggering. And I thought to myself, what can we do to stop this? What can we do to have customers stay? Because the research also shows if on day 101, you're loving the relationship, you're feeling good, you'll stay for 5 years.
Wow.
So it really is the most dispositive time in the customer relationship.
Wow. So my friend, Dr. Larry Baker, who I haven't seen in years, but he told me many years ago that the most abused customer is the sold customer.
100%.
Yeah.
And we've all been in this position as customers, right? Where the longer we are with a company, the less important we feel, right?
Yep.
And often that starts right out of the blocks. So the courting is beautiful. There's dating, there's dinners, there's golf games, there's sporting events, there's all these wonderful things. And then you sign on the dotted line, the salesperson hands you off to someone else, an account manager who you've never met, has not been on any of the dates, hasn't been part of any of the conversations, and now that person is supposed to manage the relationship.
Yeah, it gets turned
forward.
over, and it's a shame because as I think about what happens in that courting stage. There's an old joke, and I'm not going to tell the joke, but the punchline is, well, yesterday you were a prospect and today you're a customer. And basically the customer's going, what happened? You treated me so well before. And there's some lead up to it, but that's the bottom line. It was Dr. Ted Levitt, senior professor at Harvard Business School, from his book, Marketing Imagination. I don't have the exact quote, but it's something like, the function of a business is to, and if you left that blank, most people would say to make money. But the reality is, he says, that's the goal. The function is to get and then keep your customer. The getting is expensive.
The getting, and everybody talks about the getting. If you were to go on Amazon right now and look up marketing books and sales books and add the number of books that came up, you'd get about 1.3 million books that have been written about marketing and sales.
Marketing and sales.
Right? If instead you were to search for customer experience, customer success, customer service, all the things that happen after the sale, you'd get barely 30,000 books.
Wow. Of which a few of them are
Of which a bunch of them are yours. So Shep has about 28,000 of those, and then there's a couple other ones extra.
All right, so let's talk about the book. Never Lose a Customer Again. Turn any sale into lifelong loyalty in 100 days. What do you do? Day one, after the sale.
Right, so day one is interesting. Most companies are actually really good at day one. Day one is when they sign on the dotted line, they hand over their hard-earned cash, they officially become a customer. I call this the admit phase. They admit they have a problem or a need that they believe you can help them with. Now again, most companies are really good with this. But what happens immediately after the purchase? Well, all the research shows, and all of your listeners are familiar with, and our watchers are familiar with the concept of buyer's remorse. And yet when I ask people, do you have a system and a process in your business designed to address it, to eliminate it, or even acknowledge it, people get real sheepish and real quiet. Nobody has this in place. So the first thing we want to do is reaffirm the decision that they just made. Let them know we're going to take great care of them. That can be a thank you note. That can be a video that you send them telling them how much you appreciate their business. It can be something as simple as saying...
It happens in the first week, 2 weeks,
exactly, it can happen in the first couple days.
Yep.
What you want to do is counter that feeling of doubt that they have about the decision they just made.
Yep.
Then we have the kickoff, the first major interaction. I call this phase 4, the activate stage, right? Where we really get the relationship kicked off. Again, most companies are really good at this. But what happens after that? Well, we need to acclimate our customers to our way of doing business. So what can we do to hold their hand and make sure they know what's happening next?
Yeah, so, and as you go on, so this is like the first few days of the 100.
Right.
So we don't have a whole lot of time, but can you take me through a couple more touch points that you might have to reinforce the
Absolutely.
experience?
So a couple things you might want to do: acknowledge what they're trying to achieve, and when they accomplish that goal, celebrate with them. Make sure that you're thanking them for their business along the way. Look at different tools you can use to communicate. You know, what is the opportunity for you to shoot a little selfie video and text it to the customer to let them know you're thinking of them? You know, everybody over-indexes on emails. They want to send email. Well, nobody wants to get more emails. So how can you use different communication tools to really connect and build those personal and emotional connections with your customers?
Yeah, you mentioned the video on one of our earlier episodes in the first season. We had Bomb Video as a featured technology.
Great.
It's
Love
just
it.
really, you pull out your phone, you push a button, you record a video, and then you email it straight to and you know what? Those videos get opened. Emails do not.
Exactly. They get opened, they get watched, they get passed around and watched again. Here's the crazy thing. In this day and age, if you are not incorporating the opportunity for your customer to see you, not necessarily in person, but in a video, you're missing out. Most companies use video for marketing and sales. I'd love them to use video for what happens after the sale.
Great. What happens after 100 days?
After 100 days, we're not done. But if we lay the foundation for 100 days, we can actually take our foot off the gas a little bit. We can continue the conversation, but now it feels more relaxed. Now it feels like you're actually talking to a friend as opposed to trying to onboard someone who's new and different.
Great. Any last comments you want to make before we wrap up?
Oh, the last comment I would just say is, folks, take the time to pay attention to your customers. The dividends are incredible. All the research shows that if we get 5%, just 5% of your customers who would otherwise leave decide to stay, it'll increase your profits 25 to 100%.
Unbelievable. So I'm going to ask one final question is, this is very salesy, very motivational to me. I'm excited. I can't wait to do something with the first 100 days. But what type of business is this really for?
Okay, so if you have human beings as customers, this applies to you.
Perfect.
And here's why I say it, because the human condition is one that seeks connection, seeks personal relationship. Even if you're in a B2B sales environment and you're normally thinking, well, it's the company buying. No, there's a person on the other end making that purchase. Connect in a personal way, you won't be disappointed.
Outstanding information. The book is called Never Lose a Customer Again. The author is Joey Coleman, also an excellent keynote speaker and my friend. Thanks for being on the show.
I appreciate it.
Now it's time to hear from you and time to ask Shep. Now you can find me anywhere on the web, including these social channels. So use the hashtag AskShep to ask me your questions or share your amazing stories. So let's begin. George Davis owns a car dealership, and here's his question. You've talked about making good first impressions. How do I make a good last impression to keep the customer coming back? A good first impression isn't just about the first time you meet someone. It could be the 500th time you see someone. It's about setting the tone for whatever interaction is to follow. And the last impression leaves a lasting impression. So consider this. As you wrap up your interaction with the customer, was it good enough so when they need whatever it is that you sell, they'll come back? Then be sure to thank them and end on a positive note. And if you want to take that lasting impression to the next level, we'll follow up with a note, an email, maybe even a video, or even a text message if that's the way your customer likes to communicate. It's just that extra touch that shows that you care. Now let's hear from Erin Mayfield as she asks, I'm a small local retailer. How can I compete with the giants like Amazon, Walmart, or Target to create a more convenient experience, especially when it comes to delivery? Well, most businesses are impacted by what some call the Amazon effect. Amazon has created a high bar in the customer service world. Fast response and free shipping. It's becoming an expectation, not an option. The key is to justify why a customer should do business with you. Now, you'll have to provide some type of reasonable shipping option or build part or all of the cost into the product. And of course, you'll have to deliver a great customer service experience. But more important, create a personalized and local experience. The local retailer can do one thing better than a big national company can, and that is to create the local experience. As an example, think about how a local Ace Hardware store can compete against the big box home improvement stores. They do it by delivering great service, a convenient experience, and they're part of the community. They do local really well. Finally, we have Stephen Hughes, who's starting up his own business, and he says, I'm trying to decide if I should create some type of self-service option for my customers, maybe an artificial intelligence or AI solution for automated support. I'm worried about losing the human connection with my customers. Do you have any suggestions? Well, the best companies have found the balance between automated or AI-fueled customer support and human support. It depends on the type of business that you have. A doctor's office would probably want to have a person answering the phone most of the time, although they could have a patient portal on their website for the patient to book a routine appointment. Now, regardless of whatever technology you decide to implement, always have a human backup. Consider that when you're using the self-service checkout at the grocery store, there's almost always an employee standing there to help you out if you need it. In other words, if you're going to use technology to provide support, have a quick and easy connection to a live person if needed. So, are you ready to be amazing? Remember, you can find me just about anywhere on social media. So, connect with us on our social channels, and don't forget to use the hashtag AskShep to ask me your questions or share your amazing story. Time now for the amazing quote brought to you by First Rule, and it comes from William Shakespeare. Better 3 hours too soon than a minute too late. When I was a kid, my father taught me about being on time and why it's so important. There were 2 times he gave me the show up on time lesson, and neither of which I'm ever going to forget. The first happened when I was doing magic shows at children's birthday parties. I created a magic show that took about 2 minutes to set up, so I thought showing up 5 minutes early was acceptable. Well, my father disagreed. He asked me when I thought the parents would start wondering if the magician was even going to show up on time. And I thought about it, and my answer was, well, probably about 15 minutes before the show. And he said, that's correct, which is why you need to be there 20 minutes early before they start to worry. The first lesson is that showing up on time to work is important as it removes concern and worry, and most importantly, creates confidence. Lesson number 2 is perhaps even more important. One day, I arrived a few minutes late to lunch with my father. That's when he told me that showing up late to anything is a sign of disrespect toward others. It's more than just showing up late. It's about making other people wait. It sends the signal that you think your time is more important than the others that you're meeting with. I remember feeling mentally devastated that day. I never wanted to let anyone down, especially not doing something as easy as showing up on time. That was a huge lesson that stuck with me for my entire life. Of course, there can be legitimate reasons for tardiness, but if you're going to be late, don't wait until it's time to be there to let the other person know. Once again, this is a sign of disrespect. Show respect for everyone around you, and especially for those who count on you and those you do business with. It's surprisingly simple. Start by showing up on time, and the time is now, so don't be late. Well, that wraps up this edition of Be Amazing or Go Home. And remember, you can find me just about anywhere on social media, so be sure to connect with us on our social channels, and don't forget to use the hashtag AskShep to ask me your questions. Thanks for tuning in. This is Shep Hyken, reminding you to always be amazing.